Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Asha. For today's video, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of the books that I have to read for my next semester in college as an English literature major. I thought this would be a fun video to do because I actually have to read so many books this semester. Last semester, I didn't even have to read any unless they were textbooks, and this semester I have to read a lot of books. And also, I feel like when I was looking into being an English major and switching my major to that, I wanted to see what other people were reading or like what they had to do for that major. I was just thinking this would be a good idea in case anyone's even thinking about being an English literature major or an English major in general. I actually don't even know if I'm being English literature the whole time or I'm gonna do English creative writing. It's my first semester with this major. I did do one semester of college at a different college before, but it was for elementary education. So I just switched my major this year and I completed one semester, but it was more like basic core classes. So this semester I'm actually getting into the real English classes. My college has two focuses, that's English literature or English creative writing. Both of them have really similar classes, just a few differences. So I'm not like super set on the decision yet, but I'm doing English literature for now. Either way, still have to read all of these books and I wanted to share them with you. I think there's 9 or 10 books and I think this is all of them. I might be missing one. Actually, yeah, this is all the books and I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books that I have to read for my classes next semester. Not all of them are super big, but I got them from Amazon. I ordered them on Amazon and I got most of them used in good condition or something like that because it's a lot cheaper that way and just way better. Highly recommend if you have to get books for class. I always rent mine off of Amazon, but this semester I have like no textbooks. I have one online textbook, I'm pretty sure. And then the rest are all of these books. So I will show you all the books I have to read. A lot of them you might probably have read before or heard of. And then I'll tell you kind of like what class they're for as well. So this first one is for my creative writing class. It's called The Triggering Town, Lectures and Essays on Poetry and Writing by Richard Hugo. Probably a lot of people haven't read this because this is a very class kind of book. I feel like you would only read this for class, but I mean, I'm not really sure. It's just a lot about writing and I think poetry. Yeah, literally what the title says. But that's the first book. This one's not too crazy. The next one is Girls and Sex by Peggy Orenstein. I know this author is popular and she has a lot of other books that is like boys and sex and women and sex. I think there's a lot of different ones that she writes, and also I just love the cover of this book. But this is for my adolescent women and gender studies class. So last semester I took a women and gender studies class, which is for one of my core prerequisites for my major. And this semester I'm doing adolescent women and gender studies, which we're going to be looking at a lot of like what teen girls are like and what they do and just different stuff like that. So this is one of the books that we have to read and I'm really excited about this because I just feel like I'm gonna learn so much from this book, and it's also just so cute. I know we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I totally do that and so do you. Let's not lie. I'll read you the back of it. It says, a generation gap has emerged between parents and their girls. The mothers and fathers of tomorrow's women have little idea what their daughters are up to sexually or how they feel about it. Drawing on in-depth interviews with more than 70 young women and a wide range of psychologists, academics, and experts, renowned journalist Peggy Orenstein goes where most others fear to tread, pulling back the curtain on the hidden truths, hard lessons, and important possibilities of girls' sex lives in the modern world. And there's so many blurbs on the back of this that are so interesting. Non-sensational but deeply entertaining, a must read. I'm just really excited to read this. Honestly, I'm just really excited about it. All the books for this class look really good. There's 2 more books that I have to read for this class, I think. Yeah. The next book is Pink Think, Becoming a Woman in Many Uneasy Lessons. I'm excited about this class because my last Women and Gender Studies class was really good and it was very interesting, and I feel like this one I probably will like it even more because it's more about becoming a woman and like young adult women, which I can obviously relate to a lot, and not that the other class wasn't relatable, but I just feel like it's going to be so interesting. But the back of this book says, what does it take to be the ideal woman? Women from the 1940s to the 1970s were coaxed to think pink by persuasive advertisements, and meticulous, though often misguided, advice experts. Feminine perfection meant conforming to a mythical standard, one that would come wrapped in an adorable pink package, of course. With a savvy eye for curious, absurd, and at times widely funny period artifacts, Lynn Perrell gathers here the memorabilia of the era, from the dreaded yet intriguing dud of a mystery date board game in the impossibly glossy Campus Queen lunchbox to a daunting array of self-proclaimed authorities whose books and magazine articles promise readers everything they needed to attain true feminine success. That sounds really interesting to me, and I don't know. I think this is from a library. It looks like this was like a used book, but it looks like it's from a library. It's in great condition though. And oh, there's so many like pictures and stuff in it. This is so cool. I'm so excited for this class. Seriously, I'm so excited. Okay. And then the last book for this class is The Body Project, An Intimate History of American Girls. And the back of this book says, 100 years ago, women were lacing themselves into corsets and teaching their daughters to do the same. The ideal of the day, however, was inner beauty, a focus on good deeds and a pure heart. Today, American women have more social choices and personal freedom than ever, but 53% of our girls are dissatisfied with their bodies by the age of 13, and many begin a pattern of weight obsession and dieting as early as 8 or 9. Why? In The Body Project, historian Joanne Jacobs Brumberg answers this question, drawing on diary excerpts and media images from 1830 to the present, tracing girls' attitudes towards topics ranging from breast size and menstruation to hair, clothing, and cosmetics. She exposes the shift from the Victorian concern with character to our modern focus on appearance, in particular the desire to be model thin and sexy. Compassionate, insightful, and gracefully written, The Body Project explores the gains and losses adolescent girls have inherited since they shed the corset and the ideal of virginity for a new world of sexual freedom and consumerism, a world in which the body is their primary project. That sounds so good. Like, oh, you guys, these books like seriously look so good. Really excited. And this one has a bunch of pictures too. I'm totally giving these books to my friend after I read them because they probably would love them. And then the last however many books, 6 books I think, are for my world literature and cultures class, which the professor didn't have so many great ratings in that class, and a majority of them was because you have to read so much, and I was like, perfect. I'm so excited about that because I'm looking at the reading list, and look at this. This is the first book, Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. Not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but this has been on my to be read for so long, and I am so excited to read this book. It's a memoir, and a lot of it has to do with Korean dishes, like so many Korean dishes and stuff like that, and I'm just so excited to read that because I love learning about like other cultures and especially their food, because it's just so like intriguing to me and I really like it. But this is from the indie rock musician known as Japanese Breakfast, an unflinching, powerful story on family, food, grief, and love. I actually listened to some of the music by this artist. I'll read you the synopsis. It says, when Michelle Zauner was in her mid-20s working as a waitress and struggling to launch her music career in Philadelphia, she got a call that her mother was ill. She put her life on hold and flew back home to Eugene, Oregon to be with her mother through the final excruciating months of her battle with cancer. This is Zauner's searingly candid coming-of-age story of growing apart from and then back together with her Korean identity and forging her own path in the wake of a devastating loss. With humor and heart, she tells of growing up Asian American, straining to meet her mother's expectations, moving across the country, and returning home to reckon with grief. She recalls treasured childhood holidays spent in her grandmother's tiny apartment in Seoul, and now in adulthood learning to cook the Korean dishes that revive and nourish those memories. She savors the unexpected solace of weekly trips to her favorite Asian grocery store. Jeez, I can't even talk. Vivacious and plain-spoken, lyrical and honest, Zauner's voice is as radiantly as live on the page as it is on stage. Crying in H Mart is an exquisite debut, a book to cherish, share, and reread. I'm so excited about this one. Seriously, I love it. And I love the cover too. It just makes me want to read it even more. Next up, we have The Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Henrique. Enriquez. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but this is about a boy and a girl fall in love. The hopes of two families collide with destiny. After 15-year-old Maribel sustains a terrible injury, the only hope her family sees for her recovery lies in the United States. Leaving a comfortable life behind in Mexico, the Riveras risk everything to come north. It's not long after they settle that Mayor Toro, the son of one of their new neighbors, recognizes a kindred spirit in this beautiful, damaged outsider. Their love story sets in motion events that will profoundly affect the pair of star-crossed lovers and their two families, resonant with the hopes and dreams, guilt and love of men and women from all over Latin America who have come to the United States. The Book of Unknown Americans is a stunning novel that gives us a new definition of what it is to be an American. Sounds really good. Just like all these do. Next up, we have Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. And this is his memoir, which is stories from a South African childhood. And I heard that this has a lot to do with growing up during apartheid. I just learned a lot about apartheid during my history class last semester. So I was really interested to read this one. It's a compelling, inspiring, and comically sublime story of one man's coming of age set during the twilight of apartheid and the tumultuous days of freedom that followed. So I'm really excited to read this book, and also so many of you said that you read this as well or had to read it for class, and also I really love Trevor Noah, so I'm excited to read this, and I feel like it's just going to be really good and funny as well, so I'm very excited to dive into that one. Next up, we have Purple Hibiscus, and this is the author's name. I'm so excited for all of these books because I just think I'm going to learn so much while also just doing my favorite thing ever, which happens to be reading. Okay, forgive me if I'm pronouncing these names incorrectly, but this is about 15-year-old Kambili and her older brother Jaja. They lead a privileged life. They live in a beautiful house in the city of Enugu, Nigeria, and they attend an exclusive missionary school, but their home life is anything but harmonious. Although their religious father is a respected businessman, at home he has impossible expectations of his children and wife. When Kimbili's loving and outspoken aunt persuades her brother that the children should visit her, Kambili and Jaja take their first trip away from home. Once inside their auntie Ifeoma's flat in the smaller city of Nasuka, they discover a whole new world, and when they return home, changed by their newfound freedom, nothing can be the same as before. Tension with the family escalates, and Kambili must find the strength to keep their loved ones together, even after her mother commits a desperate act. Interesting. It's a sensitive and touching story of a child exposed too early to religious intolerance and the uglier side of the Nigerian state. This is going to be really interesting to read because I feel like I don't quite know that much about Nigeria. Next up, we have Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson. This is a memoir about the author's life work to find happiness. The true account behind her breakthrough debut novel, Oranges Are Not Only Fruit. Why Be Happy is a book about a religious zealot in the guise of an adoptive mother, an industrial town now changed beyond recognition, a girl locked out of her home, curled up on the doorstep all night, and the universe as a cosmic dustbin. It tells how a painful past, which Winterson thought she had written over, rose to haunt her later in life, sending her into madness and out again in search of her biological mother. Witty, acute, defiant, and celebratory, Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal is a landmark work by one of the most esteemed and beloved writers of our time. Wow. These all sound so good. Seriously, I'm like so excited right now to start school. Lastly, we have Persepolis, a story of a childhood, and this is a graphic novel, as you can see. I actually don't know much about this. Oh, this is a memoir. Wow, a memoir in graphic novel? That's really interesting. Okay. Wise, funny, and heartbreaking, Persepolis is Mary Jane Satrapi's memoir of growing up in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. In powerful black and white comic strip images, Satrapi tells the story of her life in Tehran from ages 6 to 14, years that show the overthrow of the Shah's regime, the triumph of the Islamic Revolution, and the devastating effects of the war with Iraq. The intelligent and outspoken only child of committed Marxists and the great-granddaughter of one of Iran's last emperors, Marjane bears witness to a childhood unequally entwined with the history of her country. Persepolis paints an unforgettable portrait of daily life in Iran and of the bewildering contradictions between home life and public life. Marjane's wild-eyed view of dethroned emperors, saint-sanctioned whippings, and heroes of the revolution allows us to learn as she does the history of this fascinating country and of her own extraordinary family. Intensely personal, profoundly political, and wholly original, Persepolis is at once a story of growing up and a reminder of the human cost of war and political repression. It shows how we carry on with laughter and tears in the face of absurdity. And finally, it introduces us into an irresistible little girl with whom we cannot help but fall in love. Aw, that sounds so good. I'm so excited about this because I've never read a memoir that is a graphic novel. Like, that's so interesting. But those are all the books that I have to read this semester for school. I will have to let you guys know how they are. You can follow me on Goodreads too. My Goodreads is Asha Zaf, and I'll definitely be updating that on these books as I read them. Maybe I'll do reading vlogs, whatever you guys want to see, or if you have any more questions about being an English major or anything like that, please let me know. I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys, thanks for watching.